afternoon and welcome to another edition of our WaterTalks podcast. My name is Scott Bowron and I'm glad to be here with my partner, Vanbeckevoort, and we have the privilege of having three distinguished guests from the European Union who've been here today as we presented a water better pools workshop. So we're at the end of that day. We're going to have a discussion on that. And I'm going to turn it over to Els to introduce our speakers today and our guests. Els,
Thank
nice
you,
to see
Scott.
you again.
Yeah, nice to see you. It's been a great day. As we mentioned, we'd be here recorded at the Better Pools Conference and the WaterTalks podcast, 4th edition, I believe.
Yes.
So here we have some very special people who have been near and dear to our hearts for many years. Over there is my colleague Gerben Buijs. Gerben is the managing director of SanEcoTec, who's our joint venture partner in the Netherlands. Christel, who is the director of sales, but also a wonderful technical engineer. And to my left here is Ludo, who's the CEO of Labo, Derva, a water quality laboratory in Belgium that not only does a lot of testing, environmental testing for pools, for drinking water systems, for wastewater systems, but also spends a formidable amount of time out in the field, in the application, visiting clients and understanding some of the problems that you all have to contend with. So today we thought we would just do a debrief together and use this hopefully as something useful for you. Scott and I, no doubt, will actually also in future podcasts will bring small clips from this pool workshop and use them as part of our conversation and discussion, because I think it was in general a very useful day. At least that's the feedback that we got from the guests that attended here today. Scott, what was your general impression?
Overwhelmed with knowledge. The folks sitting in this immediate table bring such a huge, vast knowledge base that you have to take something home that's useful. Whether you're a beginner or whether you're advanced, you always learn something new, and that's it. I go home full, right? Full all the time, and I just want to add to my knowledge base, and always if you stop learning, you
Exactly.
stop. So we always appreciate it. So I think the positive energy, what we can do here, not only in Ontario but in Canada, to grow the knowledge and understanding of swimming pools and understanding the science. Not just it's a swimming pool and we're reading compliance. We have public health inspectors in the room who know that we can take it further, but are limited by the compliance, that is mostly out of their hands. So it is really a nice cross section of operations, of management, of public health, and then the scientists within the room here today to really learn.
And maybe we could start at the science a little bit, Ludo. Like you spent quite a bit of time this morning trying to educate the audience a little bit on the basic principles of why measure. What was your general impression of how that went this morning?
You see that there's still a lack of knowledge. Everybody is doing their best, but it's not that easy to come to the situation like we have in Europe, because we have already a more strict regulation since more than 20 years.
Right.
And also the knowledge about the disinfection byproducts and everything else around it are a little bit better understood and also analyzed by the laboratoria in Belgium and Holland.
Yeah.
So I only can say that we make steps forwards, but also there is still a lot of work to do.
I agree. And maybe just for the listeners and the people that are just tuning in now, what does the laboratory do? What do you have to do in Europe for a swimming pool? If you were a commercial pool or a public pool, you go there monthly, yes? Once a month?
Yeah. You have, of course, a difference in a lot of other labs in Belgium. Most of the labs are just only an analyze lab, and they come with results. And the difference with Labo Derva since the beginning is that we not only give some data and analyze it, but also give, if possible, a solution for the problems that we see.
Yes.
And even so, we have an analyst who has more items of more specifications in it than what the government asked.
Right.
And if the swimming pool are able to pay a little bit more for that more expensive analyze, they have
The benefit.
the benefit, but also the solutions free.
Yes.
And if I cannot solve the proof, the problems from my office, then I went to on place
Yeah.
and we go to find
What the problem is.
most of the time together with Christel.
Yeah.
Because it's most of the time a filtration problem.
Yeah.
And we try to solve the problem on site.
Maybe pulling Christel into that conversation a little bit. Like, what are some of the common problems when you guys get called to, solve? Like, what are some of the things that you're seeing that is typical or comes back again and again and again? Like, what would you say?
A lot of time there is a problem with oxidability.
Oxidability.
Yeah. So,
and,
so
that is
for us here, we would call that, or like TOC, yes, total
Yes,
organic
not-
carbon, not quite the
not
same.
100% the same,
Yeah.
but it's in the
But
same.
so organic content in the water.
and that is mostly caused by inefficient filtration.
Yeah.
So most of the time the flocculant is then not enough,
Yeah.
or dosed in the wrong way.
Yes.
And also a very important item is the backwash velocity.
Yeah.
So when we talk about a multi-layer
Filtration system.
system, then that is mostly the cause of problems in swimming pools, that the backwash filtration is not high enough.
Yes.
So just to clarify that, if you could, because multi-layer filtration is not
No.
as
here.
common here. It's very uncommon, quite frankly. So could you just explain a little bit of what that is?
Yeah, a multi-layer filtration, that is a support layer of sand. Yeah,
Mhm.
and there above of that is 40 centimeters of hydroanthracite. And hydroanthracite is a very porous medium. So the filtration with the hydroanthracite is much more better than self.
So it's the dirt
self-filtration.
capture
The
capacity.
dirt capture capacity is very good. And another item, in Belgium and in Holland, they measure the urea, and that is a parameter what sees if the filtration is efficient enough. And that is with a multi-layer filtration always better because of the porosity
Yeah.
of the hydroanthracite.
Let me just clarify that. So you're doing a layer of sand,
Yeah.
a layer of anthracite.
Yeah.
You're measuring the urea in the water.
Yeah.
50
That is
50
Max.
milliliters of urea per person.
No.
50, what they bring into
Yeah.
the pool. Yeah.
The average person.
Yeah.
So you're measuring that, which you can almost use it as if there's 1,000 people times it by 50 would give you a close.
Not necessarily though, the urea is a byproduct or kind of not the immediate product, but it's what it evolves
Yeah.
into.
Part of it.
Right?
Yeah.
Part of it.
It's not a part of it. The urea split in 2 times ammonium,
Yes,
and ammonium react with chlorine,
which gives you your
and that gives us.
nitrogen reaction, yes.
yeah. So it's come from urea, and it is measured by.
Yeah.
And the filtration is doing part of that removal of that.
Yeah, because
urea.
of the typical form of the hydroanthracite. So when you look to a granule
Granular.
from hydroanthracite, when you look it into the microscope, you see a granule with all channels in it, and in those channels the necessary bacteria are growing.
So it's a biological process.
Yeah.
Ah.
What you need for your ureum
To break it down.
So it's the multi-layer filter is a part a mechanical filtration, but is also a biological filtration.
Biological. And if I saw anthracite in my hand, it would look like sand or heavier.
No,
No.
it's
active carbon.
Charcoal.
Activated.
it's black.
Like activated
Yeah.
carbon.
Yeah, but when you compare activated carbon and hydroanthracite, the activated carbon it's much more reactivated. They call it in that
Mhm.
market, and they have still more channels in the granule.
More porosity.
More porous.
Yes.
more space inside
Yeah.
to host bacteria.
The host.
We don't need the bacteria, we need the enzyme, what the
Yeah.
bacteria are
Produces.
producing.
Yeah.
That's what we call urease.
Urease.
And that's split immediately urea in 2 times ammonium, and the chlorine is doing the rest.
And you don't get a buildup of ammonia in the filtration
Now,
system as
because
a result.
chlorine is direct reacting with
With chlorine.
With chlorine, yeah.
chlorine,
No,
they
chlorine,
direct
yeah.
with to form the mono D3 chloramine.
That's the pre
And-
full.
But the
Precursor.
filter,
And-
stops it from
Yeah,
going into the
and
pool,
the
right?
trichloramine is the biggest problem. The mono and the dichloramines are slowly went in the direction of nitrate. So in fact, we also measure nitrate as a special
Yeah.
parameter to find out how much from your urea, what is produced by the people, is going in the wrong direction, and that is a nitrate reaction.
And so there's a huge,
It's a big topic.
it's a big topic. In
It's a different topic.
Canada, America, we'll say, we generally separate that. I call it cleaning and disinfecting. Cleaning is done in the filter, disinfecting is done in the pool to make it easy, so that people understand it easily. Whereas you're taking and saying the filtration is part of the, not only the
Well, it's
the
doing,
cleaning, but
it's
it's,
removing the contaminants,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So the
can-
possible contaminants.
Yeah,
So
you
when-
can call it cleaning too, huh?
yeah,
So urea is not has not to be in the swimming pool water.
And it's not urea is not necessarily a dangerous product in the context of bacteria or, a virus. It's not like that.
microbiological.
But it's a precursor, of course, for, the bad air quality, the chlorine smell, the problems that people have in trying to manage that. I wanted to ask Christel, you talk about filtration is a common problem that you see, or a lack of control within a filtration system, but measurements clearly also, and we talked about that a lot today. So today our topic was mastering measurements. Is that something that you guys also see still? I know
Yeah.
that you guys are, maybe have been, mastering measurements for longer, but tell me about that. Do you see that as a common theme or a problem where people are just not measuring correctly or using the wrong
That is
tools or?
mostly the problem, huh?
Yes,
That is mostly a problem when you don't measure correctly, you have the wrong parameter, the wrong
result?
result,
Yeah.
and then you take the wrong decisions.
Yes,
Right, the pool
Yes,
is
but-
open, the pool is closed.
People don't
Yes.
follow the procedures.
But-
If you ask 5 swimming pool technicians, they all do their own way of measuring. They do all, and they find 5 different results.
Outcomes, right?
Okay, but we have in Belgium also that once a month, the lab comes in the pool and takes some samples.
as a
So
validation.
on that moment, the results of that are like it has to be, because we cannot do anything else than what the government says how we have to do it. That's for each lab the same.
And so maybe I should just clarify for the listeners that there's no health inspectors that go to the pool necessarily, or do they
If-
still go?
If necessary, yes, it was a time ago a bit less than before, but now we have again a couple of new inspectors, and they're on a good way. I have on regular basis, I have contact with them because they don't know anything about it. They know there is water in the pool and that you have to do something
Yes.
to get it good, but all the rest they don't know, and
And the laboratory analysis is required by regulation, yes?
it's required by regulation, but we do more than what the regulation wants. But only the regulation parameters, you cannot give solutions.
Right,
Hmm?
yes.
You're
And-
taking them one step further.
Taking it a step
we
further.
have to do that, and then we can, and in fact, we preview a little bit the problems who are coming.
So it's a very different perspective, because what you're saying is, you have a problem and here's a direction to take. Where our public health inspectors are limited because they're not actually allowed to tell you how to fix it, even if they did know. Because then they carry the risk, and that's the way our system runs currently here. So it's a very different approach, and we're trying to help people grow their pools in a much safer fashion, and some of the tools that we have are kind of limited. So
Yeah.
this is a learning, this is what we're doing here, is trying to learn more from others who have a different approach to
Exactly.
make our pools safer in the end.
Gerben, I was going to ask you, and you presented some different measurement methods today to the group, and I think, that was a useful overview. But from your perspective, Like, is that something that you still see also a lot with your customers, that they use a wide range of different toolkits or a wide range of measurement principles? And is that a challenge that you have to deal with?
I also see the most pools has an automated system, and they use or the ion selective probe or lamprometric probe, or they use the photometric system.
Yes.
So test kits are not used in swimming pools anymore in Europe, I think.
No.
All
those-
electronic.
All electronic.
Wow.
Or they use the handheld meter, but then an electronic handheld meter.
An electronic, so a digital hand meter
Yeah,
that
yeah,
can
so-
do
so-
exactly what you need it to do.
Yeah.
So I know you guys work a lot in those, what we call those like Great Wolf Lodge, those big
Water parks.
water parks that have many pools, that have people in them all day long, that have all the water features and things like that. Tell me a little bit about your experience in that sense. And has that evolved over the years? Is it getting better? I know you guys are there a lot, helping them to manage water quality from that perspective too. Like, what are some of the things that you've learned and you've seen maybe hopefully improve, and is there something that we can learn from that as well?
But on one side, they are forced to do it,
Yes.
because a swimming pool or a subtropical swimming paradise cannot afford himself to get bad water quality, because then people doesn't come back anymore.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the government is there and says you have to follow those rules and you have to reach this quality. And that's of course the luck in Canada. Everybody is doing something, but nobody has to know what he has to do. And as long as your inspectors and the government not say on what time this is the requirement and that is the result that you need to come to, then you never get the results like we have in Europe. And on the other hand, back to the urea concentration in the pools, I want to say that Belgium and Holland are the two only countries where urea is in the legislation.
Yeah.
It's in the regulation.
Yeah, and we start by that, coming from swimming pools, subtropical swim paradises like Center Parks is a big company in time. The guy who was the technical director at Gelens had spent a lot of money to found and to come to the situation where we are on this moment. As lab and as a company, you don't have the money and maybe not the time to examine things like we have done there. But I had the possibility together with him to analyze a lot of things and to come to a situation where we are now, and that is of course a lot better than what we see in the other countries around in
Europe as well.
Yeah, and Spain and Italy with all the open air swimming pools, they use cyanuric acid like
It's going out of fashion.
well, I said it's impossible, but they still do it. And everybody think the sun is there and it is safe. Yeah, we had a client, a famous client in Belgium, and he works with peroxide, not anymore with chlorine. They are very afraid to get something on their body, as you
Chemicals.
understand. Yeah, no, they are public people, and they are
Famous.
yeah, not famous, but they want hoe zeg je dat, goed uitzicht.
They want to look
A
good.
good look, and they also had a villa. Yeah, they also had a villa in Spain, and every time say one of the guys, "Whoa, in Spain it's a lot better because we have the sun there. Alles erop, alles
Yeah.
much better." Till I asked him, bring a bottle with me, for me, and then I analyzed it and I told him the results, and I don't think he's going again back in Spain in the pool because it was a lot worse than what we had in Belgium.
Yes.
That's a little bit the situation like we see lots of times. And okay, what we do with Christel is also, we have a very good cooperation between Labo, Derva and Sam on that moment, so that we go to the pool, find out what is the filtration rate, but also what is the backwash regime. Yeah, and in fact, the start of swimming pool controls is in fact your filtration system.
Yeah.
Is the heart of the system. Is that not functioning?
The rest
You have
is
a
much
problem.
more
It's
difficult.
very important
Of
with
your-
the
yeah.
engineering of your swimming pool that you take in count some rules
Yeah.
that are there, and they are very important, and when you don't do that,
And I guess
guarantee you have problems.
You find
afterwards.
that that's the case, right? So,
And-
because
and
you guys
that's-
don't get asked to contribute at the beginning when a pool
No,
is
that's-
built. So you get called in when there's a
Yeah,
problem, but
yeah.
then some of the,
Or
Yeah.
that are installers who calls me to help them to do the engineering of a good swimming pool.
Yeah.
And that works perfectly.
Mhm.
The equipment
Yeah.
will only work well if the complete
Engineering is-
engineering is okay.
And we talk about that, the systems approach and
And
all of these
also
things.
the way how they build swimming pools.
Yeah,
The tide
absolutely.
test is very important to see how the circulation is.
Yeah.
If you have bad circulation or it takes too much time, you cannot have good water results.
No.
Yeah.
And the heart of a situation is the filter, and still at this moment we are struggling with filtration in the way that everybody thinks that we have to go to membrane filtration, all drop everything on it. But what we see is that membrane filtration is in fact not the real solution. It costs a lot of money, but it's not better than a traditional filter what we have on this moment.
Membrane filtration is useful as a physical filtration system. It works quite well from that perspective, but it doesn't give you a biological filtration step, right?
The membrane filtration is saying we don't need chemicals anymore. But that's not true, because each unit from the membrane filtration system has to be cleaned, backwashed every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So on the end is with an acid, with an alkaline product, with a soap product. So on the end they lie, because it is not chemical free or even harm. It is we spend more chemicals for the membrane filtrations than what we do for the normal filters what we are using on this moment.
Yeah. I know, and we were talking about this today actually. So a number of people said to me today, and even our health inspectors, that it's kind of like you're not trying to get to the root cause of your problem, right? You're trying to solve kind of something that's or just the symptom, if you like. The symptom could be bad air quality or complaints or things like that. So generally, you crank up the HVAC system, or you do what you can, you refresh the water, do what you can to manage it. But you never get to the root cause of
You're
your problem.
reacting, not
You're reacting, yeah, exactly.
reactive medicine rather than progressive.
Yeah.
And one important item what I want to say here is, people think that the more fresh water you put into the pool, the better the water quality is. It's different the way around. The more,
The less water you
the
add,
the less is maybe
the
not
minimum
problem, but
requirement per person.
You need it to do it on a special way, because if you dilute your swimming pool too quick and too much, the water quality is not going up, but the water quality is going down.
Explain that. Ludo.
Drinking water is not swimming pool water quality.
Explain why it's a problem.
It's a problem in temperature. The temperature of the pool, of the water that is coming into the buffer zone, is bringing the temperature a couple of degrees lower. That water is going over the filter, and it destroys in the filter everything what you built up the last couple of weeks before. So no bacterial life anymore, no urea reduction anymore, everything is completely dead. So it makes it worse and not better.
I see.
But the most of the time, the only solution that they have in the swimming pool world is open the tap, more fresh water in it, and you have better water quality. But it's the complete wrong direction. Yeah.
So the theory that the solution to pollution is dilution isn't necessarily true.
For
It's
pools, no.
not 100%. It's not 100% untrue. Only the way you do it is important. If you do that very slow, so that the temperature of the water in the buffer cellar is not going down too much, you don't have a problem. But what we are doing, we backwash the filter, and now we hope in the next hour what comes that we fill up the buffer again. And indeed, how much time do we have? We have time till the next filter backwash regime has to be done again. So we have about 3 days before the buffer cellar has to come together to the same level, and then you don't have that problem. And you can slowly, bit by bit, refresh your swimming pool water with the water what you put to the drain by backwashing.
Mm-hmm. I have a question about regulations. I know that you've been very involved with changing the regulations and updating them and make them more sustainable. So that's changing now next year, I believe.
Only in Holland.
Yeah, so can you give us a little bit of visibility on what's so different about these regulations, and why are they better, and how are they going to help?
The most important changement is, of course, that we are looking further away to the content of the disinfection byproducts.
Yeah.
special the chloride level, special the bromide level is coming into the situation.
Trimethanes as well, I saw.
Trimethanes, it's also in it, not every month, but 3 times or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
Urea every month, oxidability also every month. What else? Have ik iets vergeten?
And the combined chlorine has
Combined
changed.
chlorine is in Belgium already 0.6.
Yeah.
0.6.
And is in Holland also going now to the 0.6. And everybody was crying it's not possible. We see in Belgium that we don't have too much problems with the 0.6 if they do what they want, what we ask them to do.
Yeah, if they do it properly.
And of course that is a parameter what a swimming pool exploitant has in his own hands.
Yeah.
This is a parameter they can do by their own. So
Right.
do it like it has to be and look what your combined chlorine reading says. It tells you what you do wrong or what you do good at.
Yeah, so the regulations here don't, sorry, go ahead. You were gonna
With
say-
good measurement.
With good
Yeah.
measurement, yeah, no.
It all connects,
Okay.
right?
Like we
It
heard
all-
today that the regulations don't require us to do anything with combined chlorine,
That's
right?
correct.
So there's no regulation for that, and you know, we have seen situations where combined chlorine levels have been in the, 8
Right.
or 9 or 10 or very, very, very high. And so, you know, we have to kind of be mindful of that because that's ultimately where all of the other problems originate from. And they originate in the filter, they originate in poor disinfection system, they originate in a poorly designed pool, they originate in
Design control system.
a control system. So I wanted to ask you about that, Gerben, a little bit. So tell me about your experiences when you make a change and you put in a good photometric control system.
Well,
What can that help to achieve in the total picture?
what I heard today is most people control their chlorine pump on or off. So you see the chlorine levels are already higher than in Europe. So I heard 2.5, 3 milligram a liter. And you see if you look at the graphs we saw today, it's moving between 2 or 3 milligram. We are struggling in Europe to get it regulated between 0.5 and 1.5. So we are dealing in a very small window.
Range.
So we use proportional control of dosing pumps instead of on-off control.
Yeah.
And we are fine-tuning P&I control loops to have good quality and good flat lines in the pools, and that's a big difference here, I think.
It is a very big difference here, and it's a critical piece that's missing, but I think, you know, can be adopted even now without the regulations. The regulations still allow for 3 ppm, Scott, is it, in an indoor pool, chlorine?
Maximum?
Indoor pool? Oh my gosh, what was I thinking?
Maximum 10.
Okay.
You better kill the people before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have problems with your swimming pool
Before-
anymore.
Before 2018, there was no upper limit.
I know.
Oh,
I
nice.
thought it was like 5 or 3 or something, and 10 for a hot tub, but I got that
Max,
wrong.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so most people hopefully are not running to that. However, that's the numbers we're dealing with.
So the regulations in Europe, just repeat that again. So 0.5 to 1.5 for
Yeah,
indoor
for
pools,
yeah.
and then outdoor
To 3.
to
Up to
3
3.
parts per million. So that's a very different framework.
It's their whole different philosophy, and I always say it's the lowest common denominator, where the more chlorine is better. Throw a bunch in, you're dealing with not people who are trained and have, we had some folks in the room who are very well trained today, or like have some really good knowledge, and then some people who are here just going, this is mind blowing, right? This is so much more than I thought it was, because most of us started with, like the one gentleman, here's a test kit, make sure it doesn't go above 5, away you go, see you later, and that's your training for the day, and the rest you'll have to figure out. And we're pH and chlorine dependent, and that's our big monitors. And in 2018, we added alkalinity to the parameter. And but those are the really big parameters that we deal with water chemistry. Beyond that, it's very limited, unless there's an issue.
I'd like to ask Ludo about alkalinity. I know that's
Okay.
kind of opening a can of worms, but I think we should open it.
That's a good question, yeah.
So Ludo, tell me about the regulations that are changing. What is there a guideline or is there a rule for alkalinity?
There was a rule,
And it was?
and now the rule was 60 milligram per liter, and now it's only a guideline, 40 milligram per liter. The companies had very quickly an automatical system for dosing bicarb into the pool, and the only difference what we saw was that the sulfate concentration was going up, not the alkalinity. Why?
Explain it to us.
Yeah, the pH is going up. That means that your dosing pump with sulfuric acid has to do something because you want them to bring back to the 7.2, 7.3 situation.
Wow.
So the more bicarb we add into the pool, the less the alkalinity was, and the higher the sulfate concentration was. So you bring water to the sea, which is nothing at all. So dosing alkalinity or dosing bicarbonate in the pool is only possible when you put your dosing pump for the acid off during the time that you dose the bicarb into the pool. And then nog is it not easy to get up because your bicarb level in the pool is depending on your pH value. And by 7.2, and I've seen that a lot of times in results, by 7.2, 90 milligram per liter bicarb, I don't believe that.
He
That's not
says it's
possible.
physically not possible.
7.2, excuse
I
me.
say 7.2.
Or 7.3.
How do we measure bicarb in the lab? We take some 100 milliliters of water and we make a titration with an acid, and we say when we come to that pH level, then we calculate the acid what we dosed into the water and we recalculate that for bicarb. So if that is the method to measure it, then it's not logical that you think that you can have with a lower pH a higher alkalinity.
And the problem, of course, is that the higher your pH, your alkalinity goes up, but your disinfection efficacy goes down a lot, and you're kind of, you're in a vicious circle of inefficiency and waste.
It's a much bigger puzzle than
It is.
first thought. Right?
The most ideal pH is 7.3, like we told you, but this is not only for the alkalinity.
For the filtration.
It is also for the filtration when it is going higher. Your aluminum sulfate is not working anymore on the filter, but it's also important for the production of trichloramines.
Yeah.
That diagram we didn't show today, but there's
No.
a nice diagram which brings all the items, all the disinfection items from chlorination on one and the same diagram in function of the time and the temperature. And then you see that the trichloramine production starts from 7.3 and lower. So what is then the best pH? 7.3. Still enough disinfection capacity.
Yeah.
No problems with my flocculant, and in fact less problems with the production of trichloramines. That's swimming pool knowledge on this moment.
Yeah. So
That's
there's
what we
three
look at.
reasons, right?
Yeah.
So it's trichloramine mitigation, reduction as much as possible, optimal filtration, and optimal disinfection. So that's why there's such a narrow window in Europe. In the new regulations, it's going to be at 7.25 and 7.3.
No, but that's what we say,
Okay.
But the new regulation in Holland is based on the knowledge what I told you now.
And so they will have.
But you cannot tell the people and say you need a pH between 7.2 and 7.4. That's maybe not so good. We say in fact that it can be between 7 and 7.6, but at 7.3 the most ideal pH is. And how did we do that in the regulation? We said, what is the pH from a swimming pool? 7.3 minus or plus 0.3. Say the same and it's different. Yeah, then they say where you have to go.
Yeah.
And the range is the same.
Very specific.
Yeah,
And
very
that's-
specific. Yeah.
You realize you're getting laser beam with your pH rather than just broad spectrum.
But we saw today, we had obviously an operator, a supervisor here who shared his story that just with a little bit of pH optimization,
Right.
it improved their process a lot.
Improved, and they're saving money,
And they're saving money.
which everybody likes to hear, right? That's the money saving thing. When you're talking to your director, it's great to say, oh, the pool's running better, blah, blah, blah. We also save money and the ears perk up. because
Exactly.
We all need to do that, right? We
Of
need to be, if we can save money at home, we save money at home. If if we use good instrumentation and it gives us correct, and we can use less chlorine because our instrumentation
Yeah,
is correct,
yeah.
it's worth the value. Otherwise, it's just more stuff.
And I guess for acid dosing, Kevin, your same principles also apply, yeah? Having good pumps.
Good pumps with a good control system, then it's easier to keep your pH on the right level.
Right. especially where I find people struggle is they'll be put in a certain kind of pump and they'll put in a small body of water, like a spa, or maybe a kiddie pool, and they're using these pumps that blast on and then blast off. So to get that flat line of pH or chlorine control is impossible for them, and they're like, I don't know what to do. We're following a basketball all the time, so that's
The almost situation is over.
It's over, it needs to be over,
You
yes.
need to do it in function from the need, going up, going
Yeah.
down.
It needs to be calculated regarding the volume of your pool.
Yeah.
right.
The capacity of the dosing pumps.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that goes back to building the right facility at the
Yeah.
first state, because the operators
From
get handed,
basic.
it gets handed to the operator, and the operator's going, I can't. If
Yeah,
you,
but if I hear that some people here in the they do every 2 hours hand measurement, well, that costs a lot of money because somebody is busy for a whole day doing measurements. If you have 3 or 4 or 5 pools.
yeah, and there's the 2 hours is generally, for the bigger pools, there's different levels depending on.
The type of pool, the class of pool.
And what kind of automation you have, right, the class of pool. Oh, there's a bunch of different caveats to that, but the general rule would be every couple hours.
What were you gonna say, Ludo? Oh, doesn't matter, that's okay. Well, it's been an interesting and a long day. I maybe wanna just finish on just a final thought. This nation, has used, different types of test kits and semi-quantitative and estimates and things like that. So maybe the principle of photometric systems, can we just summarize to our listeners why that is a better method for measurement? Can you do that for us?
Yeah. That is a very difficult question.
I know it is, and we can't, and we will
The
have
problem is
future podcasts
We
that
have,
get into more
we
detail.
have
Alternatives, yeah.
alternatives, but the alternatives are too expensive and they need too much knowledge for the people who are working with it, that we never can change that.
So the laboratory is
In
the
the lab is possible.
yes, but not in the field, yeah.
And one thing we also forget is if you go down in energy cost, your CO2 print is also important on today.
Yes, it
If you
is.
can bring that in Canada as a reduction of the CO2,
The emissions,
emission, then maybe some kind of people in the government have maybe more intention to go in the direction what you want to do.
yeah, and then that's a valid point. So going back to our measurement principle, if we can measure precisely and accurately through photometric, colorimetric principles, we can probably run on the lower end of the regulations, even the current regulations in Ontario, for example. And in the process, reduce our energy waste, reduce our, our chemical waste, reduce our water waste, and ultimately also support, sustainable development goals, also support green energy goals.
Which is where we're supposed to all be doing.
Exactly.
First, you have to have the knowledge, and you have to have the tools, and then put it into play, and then follow it.
Yeah.
Right?
And we will have future episodes that get into the details of measurement principles again, or we'll certainly air some of the, perhaps some of the sessions that we've had today, because I think those will be some useful material for kind of the basic understanding of where
Never
measurements begin.
Never forget, it's a long way to go.
It's a long way to go.
It's a long way to go, but it's a good fight.
But that's right, and
If
we're
you
on
don't do
it.
anything, it never comes in.
Exactly. So we're all involved in
This is the
keep up the
start.
good fight. This
This
is
is the start.
And
It's the start.
we only speak now about water quality, but the design of the pool is important. And second or third thing what we never heard in Canada is the surrounding around the pools, the quality of the floors, the bacteriological quality.
Yeah.
We
and
have
cleaning
also in
products.
Belgium and Holland, every month samples we take on a place on the
They do
surroundings
swabs.
and find out if the
Biofilm.
cleaning is well or
Control
not.
of the cleaning.
And
They
we
do
also
swabs.
have
It's just bigger and bigger, and
yeah, okay, but
Yeah.
the problem from your germs in the pool is not only the people, but
right.
also the surroundings and then what they
And the
bring with
cleaners.
it, and,
Yeah.
and
And
the
we've
way
seen
they
that,
clean
right?
it. And you see some pools you can make a nice paste from the pool, Okay, they may be not going home with the bacteria, but they go home with a broken leg or whatever it
It
is.
means it's slippery because of the
Yeah.
cleaners they use, they
Oh,
fall over,
yeah.
it's a skating rink.
And disinfection products what we use, and it is an quaternary ammonium compound what everybody is using against fungi and so on and so on. It's make a ski paste from your floor then. Oh, if you like that is okay, but
Indoor skiing at 30 degrees.
going with your skis over the floor.
But
Yeah,
it also leads to problems in your water.
yeah, what
Yeah.
we see now is that there is a very big influence from cleaning regimes to the water quality.
To water quality, what is being used externally.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other,
We'll
Yeah,
talk,
yeah,
we'll have a show on that, I think.
just on
That's
that.
Just on cleaning, I think that'll be a good topic.
That
That'll
is
be a good topic.
where I started with that situation from the floors 30 years ago.
Wow,
I can
wow,
believe it.
huge history.
The way to measure it is a microbiological way. You put some Lodite plates on the floor and you see what kind of bacteria stay. And when you see the kind of bacteria what you find back, you also can say why which sludge is on the floor and how you can clean it.
Yeah.
What is a better item than how say that? Bringing the people in the direction that you have an analyze, you know what the problem is, and you know in the meantime what the solution is.
Yeah.
Better than that, it's not possible.
Yeah, no, it's very helpful for sure.
That's also,
So it's not
Typical
just,
Belgian law.
it's not just a regulatory aspect, but it's also, you know, how to treat it, right? So if you don't know, you don't know what you don't know, right? So,
what we have seen in Belgium is that the dermatophytes, the foot,
Fungus.
the foot, athlete foods.
yeah, foot fungus, yeah,
Is hoe zeg je dat, verminderd? Is
diminished,
diminished with a lot since the time that we are busy with
monitoring.
because one of the plates what we put on the floor is the dermatophyte plate, and then we're going to see if we find some traces of dermatophytes from the people, dus the athletes coming on the floor. And in the beginning we found regularly a lot of problems, and I see now my results, it's very rarely that we find some dermatophytes on the floor.
Which is,
That is then a good item for your clients.
maybe I wanna close this session on that premise that to measure is to know.
Measure is to-
And, you know, we talked a little bit about digital logbooks today and really having an accountable system that shows you where you're at and where you're going, and, you know, validating that through laboratory analysis, validating that through, you know, proper tools for calibration, validating that also through, if possible, automation or online systems as well. So it's complex. I think if I've learned anything over the years of surrounding myself with very smart and bright people, is that it's complicated, but it is worthwhile because you can actually go a long way if you just start to make small incremental improvements along the way. And I think that's maybe
And-
where we can.
And away we go.
And for that reason, it was a pity that those inspectors were not available today. Maybe
Well,
they see it on the,
Yeah,
maybe this also.
they can watch the
There is-
podcast and some, you know, they had commitment, so that's okay. We had some inspectors here and those people will take it back to, you know, the regulatory people. And I think that, you know, we will connect with them again. They're all very willing and they're all part of the solution, right? Like we all have to work together to come up with a solution that
Absolutely.
requires all of us today, so.
Folks, thank you very much for joining us today. You have long travel home. Thank you for taking the time to visit us here in Canada. Thank you,
Thank
Els.
you, Scott.
As
Forced us to
usual,
come,
yeah. We always learn something when we're together. So thank you again. Enjoy your day, and
Welcome.
we'll see you all soon.
We'll see you all soon, so subscribe, like, obviously comment, and we'll see you at the next edition of the
All right.
WaterTalks podcast. Thank you.